Good afternoon, dear students. Today we will talk about one of the modern language teaching approaches, communicative language teaching. The communicative approach or communicative language teaching is a teaching approach that highlights the importance of real communication for learning to take place. Communicating meaning is the main goal in communicative language teaching, and language is seen as a tool for learners to reach this aim. For this reason, the syllabus of the courses that adopt a communicative approach to teaching favor lesson aims that will help students practice and develop their linguistic competence rather than their grammatical competence. In order to achieve this, different types of syllabi were created, amongst them the functional notional syllabus that enables learners to focus on the meaning function of language and practice it in a realistic setting. This approach is found in the changes in the British language teaching tradition dating from the late 60s. A lot of British linguists contributed to the formation of communicative approach, which aims to make communicative competence the goal of language teaching and develop procedures for the teaching of the 4 language skills that acknowledge the interdependence of language and communication. Communicative competence is what a speaker needs to know in order to be communicatively competent in a speech community. Richard and Rogers, scholars, in 1986 described communicative language teaching as an approach rather than a method, since it presents a philosophy of teaching that is based on communicative language use. Advocated by many applied linguists, communicative language teaching in their views emphasizes notional functional concepts and communicative competence rather than grammatical structures as central to teaching. The major characteristics of communicative language teaching are: meaning is primary, contextualization is basic, attempts to communicate in teaching language are encouraged in the beginning of instruction. Material sequencing is determined by the content, meaning, and function. Language first is acceptable when feasible. Activities and strategies for learning are varied. Communicative competence is the goal of instruction. In Heim's view, a person who acquires communicative competence acquires both knowledge and ability for language use. Whether something is formally possible, whether something is feasible in virtue of the means of implementation available, whether something is appropriate in relation to a context in which it is used and evaluated, whether something is in fact done, actually performed, and what its doing entails. The principles of communicative language teaching are communication, task, meaningfulness principles. The communication principles: activities that involve communication promote language learning. The task principle: activities that involve the completion of real-world tasks promote learning. The meaningfulness principle: learners must be engaged in meaningful and authentic language use for learning to take place. Influences: the primary function of language is for interaction and communication. Language is a system of the expression of meaning. The activities that truly communicative have features of information gap, choice, and feedback. They must be guided by the teacher for unrehearsed situation. Authentic materials should be used. True communication is purposeful. Activities are better carried out in small groups in which interaction among students are maximized. Practice in the classroom. Grammatical structures had better be subsumed under various functional categories. Authentic materials are preferred. There should be less attention to grammatical rules, but fluency should never be encouraged at the expense of clear, unambiguous, direct communication. Technology and increased teachers' language proficiency now make achieving the goals of communicative language teaching possible. Activity types and classroom tips. As a teacher is not the center of instruction anymore, activities in communicative approach usually favor student interaction and maximize learners' opportunities to speak. The activities below can be used to provide learners with practice of the language, and the level of support given might vary depending on the stage of the lesson aim, and the student's level of ability. Nevertheless, it is important to stress that preparing students to perform tasks is a vital step for successful completion of activities and the development of their communicative competence. So here are some activities that can be used in a communicative approach lesson. Role play. In role plays, the learners are given an imaginary situation and are asked to perform a different role or act as themselves in particular scenario. Role plays enable learners to imagine themselves in realistic situations, rehearsed before they need to use English in real life. They are also fun and motivating for some learners. Information gap activities. Information gap activities require learners to talk to each other and find out missing information they need to perform a certain task. The information missing might include words, numbers, and even drawings. The main point is to get students to talk and work collaboratively to share all information they need. Jigsaw activities. Jigsaw activities involve learners reading, listening, or performing different tasks at the same time and later sharing what they have done with their peers. For example, half of the students can be asked to watch a video on a certain topic, and the other half can be asked to watch a different video with a different viewpoint. After learners watch the videos and complete the tasks for comprehension, they are asked to share what they had found out with their peers. So communicative activities, the aim of communicative activities, a desire to communicate, communicative purpose, content not form, variety of language, no teacher intervention, no material controls. Non-communicative activities. Non-communicative activities desire no communicative purpose, form, not content, one language item only, teacher intervention, material control. So this was about communicative language teaching.